Hello there, greetings from Colombo everybody. I'm Hassan Shazali. This is Primetime News on News First, where the people come first. We have got a packed bulletin lined up for you tonight because today is a very special day for Sri Lankans. We'll find out why. But first, let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Sri Lankan flag flies high as Yupun and Palitha excel at Commonwealth Games.
Having a great embrace, good work by the camera crew. The two Sri Lanka. Torrid injury.
Sri Lanka committed to One China policy, says President. Shots fired inside Mount Lavinia Court Complex. Aragalaya protesters go to court to prevent being removed from golf race. Pathum Kerner released on bail. Many factions take to the streets against the arrest of Joseph Stalin. Amnesty International says the right to peaceful protest must be protected. Bus fares to reduce from tonight. China fires ballistic missiles into waters around Taiwan.
Your top story tonight comes all the way from the United Kingdom because today is a day when the Sri Lankan flag can be waved with pride once again, thanks to the fastest man in Asia. Yupun Abekon became the first Asian athlete to win a medal in the 100-meter event at the Commonwealth Games.
Set.
Good start there from Omanyala. He's got the jump on Sabina at the moment. Omanyala's going away with this one. He will not be caught. This is justice for the man who couldn't do himself justice in Eugene. He takes the gold for Kenya.
Yupun Abekon's amazing feat has brought pride not just to Sri Lanka but the whole of Asia.
Sri Lanka, a bronze medal, 1/100th in the steeplechase.
Yupun now holds the record for becoming the first Asian athlete to win a medal in the 100 meters event at the Commonwealth Games. Yupun also becomes the fourth Sri Lankan athlete to win a medal in the 92-year history of the Commonwealth Games. Yupun Abekon currently holds the South Asian record in the 60 meters, 100 meters and 200 meters events, as well as the Asian record in the 150 meters event. In today's race, Kenya's Ferdinand Omanyala won the gold medal while South Africa's Akani Zimbini clinched the silver medal. He beat Yupun by just 1/10 of a second. This was also the first Commonwealth medal won by a Sri Lankan athlete after 24 years. A lot of people expected me to win and I did that. I proved myself. We've already made plans for 2024. I think we can win there as well. It's a difficult task, but I think we can. For those who stood by me, I thank you. I hope you will continue to stand by me. Palitha Bandara, who was participating in the para discus throwing event at the Birmingham Stadium, congratulated Yupun.
It is a better throw. Oh, there they are. Having a great embrace. Good work by the camera crew. The two Sri Lankans side by side.
Lasit Malinga has stood out as a man who wanted Yupun to win. He encouraged Yupun by posting a video on Facebook before the race. Yupun immediately responded to Malinga on social media after the race. Malinga expressed his joy with us. I hope you were able to bring joy to me and everyone else who loves the sport, and I hope that this victory will be a good strength for the young players. You and I, who have both played the game, understand the pressure and how you have to get used to it, and we also understand the kind of happiness we get when we win under pressure. So you have an opportunity to teach the young players about it. And to all the players who participated in these games and to all the players who won, thank you very much for the sacrifices you made.
ජයග්‍රහණය කරපු සියලුම ක්‍රීඩකයන්ට ඔයගොල්ලෝ හැමෝම කරපු කැපකිරීමට ගොඩක් ස්තුතියි.
Yupun Abekon, who won the bronze medal today, finishing the race in 10.14 seconds, set a new Sri Lankan record and South Asian record in the men's 100 meters at the International Athletics Tournament held in Switzerland this year. He clocked in a time of 9.96 seconds at the event. He is Sri Lanka's next Olympic hope. Palitha Bandara won the silver medal in the men's discus throw event at the Commonwealth Games 2022 with a distance of 44.2 meters. He won Sri Lanka's first medal in para-athletics at the Commonwealth Games.
And with that, we cross over for a short commercial break. Stay with News First. We will be right back.
Enjoy a highest return for your investments from LB Finance right now. Earn a highest interest rate of 23% for 8 months fixed deposits. LB Yasaisuru, an unparalleled reward for a trusted deposit.
මොකද මහත්තයා මේ?
නෑ මේ ගෙදර සිංක් එකේ
අයි මහත්තයා ස්ලෝන් නෙමෙයිද දැම්මේ?
හදිස්සියට බාලා පයිප්පයක් දැම්මේ. නැද්ද මුදලාලි ඊයේ පෙරේදා කඩේ රිපෙයාර් කරන්න ගෙනාපු ගම් චුට්ටක්.
මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට හොඳම විසඳුම ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටක්. හැබැයි ඉක්මනින් දාගන්න ස්ලෝන් පයිප්පයක්.
ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා හැම ගෙදරකම සිටිය යුතු ජනනල කාර්මිකයා. දැන් රඟම කුලසරියෙන් මිලදී ගන්න.
Welcome back to the news. Now, a man opened fire inside the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court this evening. The shooting took place while court was in session.
Shots were fired targeting a 32-year-old defendant from Valigama who was produced in court today on charges of committing credit card fraud. The defendant was shot while he was in the dock. According to the police, the gunman had used a revolver. The Chief Magistrate of Mount Lavinia, Kosala Senadira, was sitting in the courtroom. After the shooting, the gunman came out of the courtroom and fired again towards the police checkpoint and fled. According to the police, 16 police officers were stationed at the courthouse at the time of the shooting, but none of them were able to arrest the gunman. Investigations have revealed that at the time of the incident, none of the police officers were at the entry gate of the court premises. The police said that although they were instructed to carry T-56 firearms to provide security to the courthouse, the officers were only carrying revolvers. The police suspect that the organized criminal named Harak Kata was involved in the shooting.
The case was called. There were 2 defendants in this case. The charges were criminal breach of trust for a sum of 40,000 rupees. There were 2 accused in the dock when the trial started, and when they were standing, this person entered the court, came in front of the court and opened fire with a pistol. Fortunately, the bullet went past the head of the accused. With the noise, we went out of the courtroom. He has been getting threats for about a month now.
A total of 21 people have been shot and killed in various areas since the 30th of May. Most of these killings were carried out by unknown gunmen on motorbikes. The most recent killing was reported on the 2nd of this month when a member of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna of the Mullaria Pradeshya Sabha was shot dead. The police have sought public assistance to identify the main suspects involved in the attack on the 4 police officers, including senior DIG in charge of the Western Province, Deshabandhu Thennakoon, on the 10th of May. Releasing the photographs of the suspects to the media, the police requested the public to contact the numbers 071 8591 735, 071 8592 735 or 071 8591 733 to provide information on these suspects. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka has directed a letter to the Inspector General of Police urging him to take swift action with regard to shootings taking place across the country and incidents where corpses are being discovered in various parts across Sri Lanka. The Bar Association said that these incidents are a threat to the rule of law as many of these shootings were carried out in broad daylight. The Bar Association points out that by taking steps to immediately investigate these matters and arrest the suspects, public faith in the rule of law can be restored.
In more news coming in from the courts today, Colombo Additional Magistrate Harshana Kakunuwala granted bail to activist Pathum Kerner today. He was arrested over an incident near the parliament recently. Dr. Pathum Kerner was arrested over his involvement in an incident near the parliamentary entrance in Poldua on the 13th of July. He was released on 2 sureties of 1 million each. The additional magistrate also ordered Pathum Kerner to appear before the Colombo Crimes Division on the last Sunday of every month. Court also barred the suspect from travelling overseas and ordered him to surrender his passport to court. The suspect was produced for an identification parade and was identified by the witness. Appearing for Dr. Pathum Kerner, President's Counsel Rianzi Arsakuluratna said The police has charged his client for causing 1.6 million rupees worth of damage to a military vehicle, a police vehicle and an ambulance without producing any evidence to support the charges. The President's Counsel added that the police have not produced any evidence to show that his client was in possession of a weapon said to have been taken from a soldier. When the Counsel requested for bail to be granted to the suspect, the Colombo Crimes Division strongly objected to it. The Colombo Crimes Division informed court that the army soldier had identified him as the person who took his weapon. President's Counsel Rianzi Arsakularatna stressed in court that at the time the alleged incident took place, the area where the incident took place was experiencing a power outage. He went on to note that the identification of the suspect by the army soldier is problematic. After considering the submissions made in court, the magistrate ordered for the suspect to be released on bail and for the case to be taken up again on the 23rd of August. If they are thinking that they can imprison members of the Aragalaya and scare them, they are wrong. I also believe that they cannot end the Aragalaya by removing the tents at Golface. The best way to end the Aragalaya is by solving the economic issues of the people and instilling trust among the people.
Danish Ali, an activist at the Golface Aragalaya protest, was imprisoned for 14 days after pleading guilty for using a mobile phone while in remand custody. Prison Commissioner Chandaneka Naika said the suspect was produced before the prison tribunal today and later imprisoned for 14 days after he accepted the charge before the Colombo Additional District Judge. Meanwhile, General Secretary of the Ceylon Teachers Union Joseph Stalin and spokesperson of the National Bhikkhu Peramuna, Venerable Koswatte Mahanama Thera, who was arrested last afternoon on charges of violating court orders during a protest held at the Bank of Ceylon Mawatha in Colombo on the 28th of May, were brought by the Fort Police this afternoon to be produced in court.
In rest of the day's stories, now trade unions representing the education, health, postal services and ports held a demonstration opposite the Fort Railway Station today. The protest was held against the arrests of trade union leaders and activists who were in the front line of the people's struggle.
We're not ready to hide and we're not afraid of this suppression. Saman Ratnapriya was present at the protest on the 28th of May. He has now been appointed as the Director General of Trade Unions to the President. But in the meantime, Joseph Stalin is sent to jail. His actions contradict what he said during the throne speech. Raise your voices against this state-sponsored terrorism. Do not hesitate or be afraid. We sent Kota home. Sending Ranil home is not a difficult task. If you are trying to fight with the common folk of this country, we are ready to stand against you. We took to the streets to create a better country. We will continue our struggle until you release all our comrades fighting for the struggle. We are here to give this message to the government. If they are arresting Joseph Stalin for being a part of the struggle on the 28th of April, they should also note that Ranil Wickremesinghe supported it on that day. We challenge Ranil Wickremesinghe to answer this question. Didn't you support this protest on the 28th of May? It was you who instigated this protest. Even the Director General of Trade Unions was with us on that day. Arrest them as well. While Ranil is trying to uphold the law, corpses are washing ashore. People are shot in broad daylight. Where is the police of this country? Where is the law? The law does not apply to murders, thefts and crimes in this country. Instead, it is being implemented today against innocent protesters. I have a question for Ranil Wickremesinghe. Of the two people who entered the Rupavahini Corporation, you arrested one. Who is the other? The other is a henchman of yours. Why aren't they arresting him? These trade union campaigns were led by Saman Ratnapriya. He was the co-convener. In the end, he was appointed Director General, while Joseph Stalin and two other bankers were taken into custody. Why did you arrest these two bankers? Did they loot money from the central bank, or did they remove the tax imposed on sugar? It was you who supported the people's struggle at Golface Green. Saman Ratnapriya was your representative there.
Onto a similar story now. The Teachers and Principals Trade Union Collective held a protest near the Kurunegala Clock Tower today. They urged the government to immediately release activists like Joseph Stalin, who have been arrested recently. He messed with the wrong people. We will not forget this easily. Teachers and principals of the Kandy Education Zone and civil organizations staged another protest opposite the Kandy Clock Tower. We would like to inform Ranil Wickremesinghe and the central government that this struggle cannot be stopped through illegal arrests and imprisonments. This Aragaliya will only grow and it cannot be stopped. Teachers of several schools in Vavnia South Education Zone also protested today against the arrest of Joseph Stalin. The emergency law should be lifted and these arrests must stop. They are arresting people without focusing on rebuilding the economy. While Saman Ratnapriya takes office, Joseph Stalin is arrested. Venerable Omar P. Sobitha also convened a media briefing today. We don't see the law being enforced against Mahinda Rajapaksa or any of the ministers that were involved in attacking the peaceful protesters at Golface Green. What is the reason behind this? We urge Ranil Wickremesinghe to uphold equality when implementing the law. If you don't follow this, these protests will continue to aggravate. They will not subside. The arrest of the recent activists have raised concerns in the international community. The UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights Defenders, Mary Lawler, says she is disturbed by news of the arrest of trade union leader Joseph Stalin. In a tweet, she said the work of prominent human rights defenders like Joseph Stalin has been more important than ever in recent weeks and must be supported and not punished. Now, Amnesty International South Asia has also called on Sri Lankan authorities to refrain from intimidation or using force to disperse peaceful protests.
International South Asia, in a tweet, called on authorities to respect the people's right to peaceful assembly in public spaces and refrain from intimidation or use of force to disperse peaceful protesters. Amnesty tweeted, quote, "We are concerned over the police's notice to vacate Gotago Gama as people call for action from the government and accountability for the economic crisis," unquote. Amnesty is also alarmed by the grave and rapid escalation of the repression of anti-government voices through a series of arrests of protesters. The rights group said Sri Lankan authorities must immediately release and drop charges against protesters detained solely for exercising their rights to peaceful assembly, where restrictions on the rights have not been necessary or proportionate. It added, quote, "If sufficient evidence of criminal wrongdoing persists, promptly charged with a recognizable offence that commensurates with the nature of the crime after assessment on a case-by-case basis in accordance with international due process and fair trial standards," unquote. It also stressed that the Sri Lankan government must respect, protect, promote and fulfill the rights to freedom of expression and peaceful assembly and allow people to freely exercise their human rights.
The police arrived at the Golface protest site in Colombo today as well. They announced that protesters must vacate the protest site before 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Some tents at the protest site were removed today. The activists of the People's Struggle convened a media briefing today at the protest site, declared that they are not ready to leave.
None of the protesters here will leave. The government is trying to free up this land by sending us away, not only to suppress this struggle, but to sell this very valuable land, just like they sold Shangri-La and the port city. Neither us nor Ranil Wickremesinghe can decide where the people can protest. The people will decide that. They are the ones who took this Aragalia forward. This struggle will continue further. This order that we got is not a court order. This is an order of the OIC of the Fort Police Station. We won't accept that order.
4 writ petitions were filed at the Court of Appeal today, seeking an order to prevent the removal of people and constructions at the Golface Aragalia protest site. Venerable Megahavatte Kashapatero, Hirosh Alfonso, Asanka Beratna, Lahiru Anton and Madhushan Fernando had filed the petition. The OIC of the Fort Police, the Inspector General of Police, the Urban Development Authority and the Attorney General have been named as respondents in this application. The petitioners have requested court to call for a copy of the written order of the police to be furnished in court and for an order to be issued to annul the said order.
News First with the people.
Taking a look at a story making headlines overseas as well, China kicked off its biggest ever military exercise in the seas around Taiwan. This follows US Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the controversial territory.
China has launched several ballistic missiles into waters around Taiwan's northeast and southwest coasts. The move comes after top US Democrat Nancy Pelosi's controversial visit to Taipei in the face of warnings from Beijing. Chinese state media said the live fire drills in 6 areas around Taiwan got underway at noon local time today and will continue until the same time on Sunday. Meanwhile, Taiwan's defense ministry said it had activated related defense systems in response to the launch, and the Reuters added that it condemned China's irrational action, which destroyed regional peace. According to the Chinese Foreign Ministry, a meeting between China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi and his Japanese counterpart has also been cancelled over a statement released by the G7 about Taiwan. Speaking at a media briefing, spokesperson at the ministry, Hua Chunying, said Beijing was strongly displeased with the statement. Taiwan's Taoyuan International Airport said 50 international flights inclusive of 26 arriving flights to Taiwan and 25 flights departing from the airport have been cancelled today due to China's live fire drills.
Amidst a row between China and the US over Taiwan, a Chinese observation vessel is heading towards Sri Lanka. Yuanwang 5 is expected to reach Hambantota this month.
The Chinese Yuanwen 5 ship is to reach Hambantota on the 11th of this month. The ship was sailing 2,190 nautical miles away from the coast of Sri Lanka today. The vessel had been travelling while avoiding international shipping routes yesterday. India considers Yuanwen 5 as a spy ship and sees its arrival in Sri Lanka as a threat to India's security.
While geopolitical tensions between China and the US continue, President Ranil Wickremesinghe has reiterated Sri Lanka's firm commitment to the One China policy.
In a meeting with Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Kee Zeng Hong, President Ranil Wickremesinghe has reiterated Sri Lanka's firm commitment to the One China policy as well as to the UN Charter principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity of nations. In a tweet, President Wickremesinghe said, and I quote, "Countries must refrain from provocations which further escalate the current global tensions," unquote. The president added that mutual respect and non-interference in the internal affairs of countries are important foundations for peaceful cooperation and non-confrontation. British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Sarah Halton met Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. She tweeted that they held discussions on the UNHRC process and prospects for constitutional and economic reforms. They had also discussed avenues for strengthening British-Sri Lankan relations in the fields of education, culture and trade and investment. New Zealand High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Michael Appleton met with National People's Power leader Androkumara Dissanayake and MP Vijitha Herath. In a tweet, the High Commissioner said they held discussions on Sri Lanka's economic and political crisis, the NPP's political and economic policy approaches, the current public opinion and the role of the international community.
Now, US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar have discussed the situation in Sri Lanka. They have met on the sidelines of the 29th ASEAN Regional Forum ministerial meeting in Cambodia.
Anthony Blinken and Dr. S. Jaishankar exchanged views on the global and regional issues, including Sri Lanka's economic crisis. They emphasized that both nations stand with the people of Sri Lanka and support their aspirations for a return to economic and political stability through democratic and constitutional processes. Earlier, during a meeting with Sri Lanka's Minister of Foreign Affairs, President's Counsel Ali Sabri, the US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said Sri Lanka is in a moment of challenge and crisis, but he added that Sri Lanka has an opportunity to create a more democratic and inclusive government. Foreign Minister Sabri told Blinken that he appreciates the role of the US in securing support from the International Monetary Fund. Minister of Foreign Affairs President's Counsel Ali Sabri also met with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar at the ASEAN Regional Forum. In a tweet, the Indian minister reaffirmed India's commitment as a dependable friend and reliable partner to the economic recovery and well-being of Sri Lanka. He said, quote-unquote, neighborhood first. Foreign Minister President's Counsel Ali Sabri also met with High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Joseph Borrell. Minister Sabri briefed the EU representative on the recent developments in Sri Lanka and also appreciated the EU's continued support to the country. In a tweet, the Foreign Ministry said it looks forward to positive contributions from the EU bilateral relations and cooperation, including GSP Plus, towards Sri Lanka's financial stability.
And with that, we cross over for another short commercial break. Stay with News First. We will be right back. Welcome back to the news. We've got some news coming in from the local political spectrum. Now, former Minister Rohitha Abegunawardena held a press conference today. He said Basil Rajapaksa has launched a program at the village level to strengthen the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna party.
We know that everyone has the right to protest. There is no problem with that. We need to protect them. But if they are becoming violent, they are no different from the LTTE.
දැන් සර්වපාක්ෂික ආණ්ඩුවක් හැදුවොත් ඔබතුමාලා සූදානම්ද ඒවයි ඇමති දූර ලබා ගන්න කොහොමද පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ හැම සාකච්ඡාවක් කරලා තියෙනවද?
The SLPP has the highest majority among the 225. Therefore, the government needs the support of the SLPP to strengthen them.
දෙවෙනි ඉදිරි දේශපාලනයේ බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයාගේ ඒ වගේම ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණේ මොකක්ද භූමිකාව?
We will strengthen the party and move forward. We are in the process of strengthening the program of the party, and the founder of the party, Basil Rajapaksa, is making the necessary arrangements to take the party forward. We don't have too much of work these days as well, so we are working for the party and carrying out programs at the village level. There may be certain issues. Ranil Wickremesinghe from the United National Party is the president of the country. He only won one seat at the previous election and came into parliament. Everyone thought that this is the end of the UNP and Ranil Wickremesinghe. All of these are fate. When some people were invited, they wanted to take it up, but they were scared. In these trying times, we handed this over to someone who can take up the responsibility. That is the reality.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Sajid Premadasa visited the Fort Police Station today and met the arrested trade union leader Joseph Stalin. Afterwards, a press conference was held at the opposition leader's office and was attended by several opposition parties. Today, this government is acting in a manner which is quite frightening and also terrifying. As an opposition who highly value democracy, we condemn such acts. We will stand with these trade union leaders and peaceful protesters unconditionally. Therefore, we urge this government to stop this suppression. Do not fear the people's mandate. Do not think you can control this country while you hide in a bunker surrounded by weapons.
උණ්ඩෙන් බෝම්බෙන් බයිනේත්තුවෙන් කඩුවෙන් කිනිස්සෙන් මේ රටේ ජනතාව හසුරවන්න පුළුවන් කියලා.
අපි සෑම විටම හොඳ ක්‍රියාවන් සියල්ලටම අපි සහාය දෙන්න ලෑස්ති.
We are ready to render our support to all good decisions. In the meantime, you need to uphold democracy as well. If you violate democracy, we will stand against it.
අපි ඒ ගැන අපේ විරෝධතාවය අපි ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා සහ ඒ ගැන අපේ අදහස් අපි කියනවා.
The arms of the government are hunting down leaders of these protests who were there from day one. We vehemently condemn these oppressive measures taken by the new government. This new government itself is occupying that place because of these protests. We say together as common opposition to the government that this is a tactic to sidetrack, to take people's attention away from the primary responsibility that the government must discharge, and that is to bail this country out of this economic crisis. Trying to show that there is some terrorism, some subservient activities that are going on in the country, some great danger that is going to befall the country and so on, and engaging in this type of activity.
Well, those were the views expressed by political parties on the recent arrest of activists. A group of lawyers held a media briefing today. They opposed what they called was acts of suppression carried out by the government.
We have an economic problem. The first problem is economic before we change the system. And the people in parliament are not listening to it. And even the opposition members, they want positions in the interim cabinet. I don't see why people like Sajid Premadasa or Anura Kumar Dissanayake can't leave the junior people in the cabinet of ministers. Whether you talk of the junior people who have brains to be guided by experts on the various subjects, because the moment the senior people come and get involved in this cabinet, they have the same old thinking, and if they fail economically, they're going to fail in the next election as well. So you should have a junior team, back the team, get them to deliver.
I hope we remember that this moment represents perhaps a failed attempt, or not an attempt, but a failed experience on our part also as lawyers, not to recognize that these laws have been repressive for a long time, and we have not done as much as we could have for so long. But even at this moment, we do have that opportunity to stand up and to make that change. And it is always heartening to see that there are those who will stand. And even at this moment, at this conference, that is the stand we are taking.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party met and held discussions with the President today as well. The chairman of the party, former President Maithripala Sirisena, has informed the head of state that in the formation of an interim all-party government, agreements should be made with the political parties individually and not with the politicians within each political party. The SLFP chairman has also pointed out that the President should show his true commitment to an all-party government. The SLFP held discussions with the President about 11 issues, including the all-party government. The President is calling and holding discussions with all the other parties. These discussions might continue for about another week or two. Forming an all-party government, a national council and people's council are the points that need to be discussed. The common objective of these should be to solve the political, economic and social issues. So we should all support the government to solve these issues.
In rest of the day's stories, the National Transport Commission says bus fares will be reduced by about 11% from midnight. Nilan Miranda is the Director General of the National Transport Commission. He says the minimum bus fare will be reduced from 38 to 34 rupees. Miranda said bus fares will be reduced to give passengers the benefit of the recent reduction in the price of a litre of diesel by 10 rupees. And now, in a bid to help the worst affected by Sri Lanka's economic crisis, dry rations continue to be distributed under the second phase of the Divi Savia program. On the 29th day of the program, dry rations were distributed in Kilnochi today.
The Divi Savia program is supported by LOLC Holdings. Packs of essential items were distributed among several poverty-stricken families in the Kilinochi district today. Xavier aims to distribute essential items among families hardest hit by the current economic crisis.
And you're up to date with the latest stories here on News First. Don't forget, more news follows on our website www.newsfirst.lk. I've been Hassan Shazali. Take care and good night.